Everyone knows the story of Little Red Riding Hood, but what happened after? The wolf wasn't defeated. He was locked away in Lord Edmund's castle cellar. But in the shadows, he was digging every night until one day he escaped. But before that, do you really know the wolf's story? Was he always big and bad? Let's find out how he became that way. Discover the fabulous story of the Big Bad Wolf. The young wolf's name was Lykanos, an ancient name full of wisdom. His mother was taken by a hunter at the start of winter. Since then, cold and hunger were his only companions. Until a fox with copper fur and amber eyes found him. Her name was Eris. She took him in, adopted him, raised him as her own. She didn't teach him anger or violence, but patience, stealth, and clever thinking. One morning, under the golden winter sun, Eris brought him to an old oak tree. A black crow sat on a branch, holding a piece of cheese in its beak. Below, a sly fox trotted by. The fox looked up and said, "Oh, majestic crow, your feathers are so shiny. If your voice is as noble as your look, you must be the king of the forest." Flattered, the crow opened its beak to sing, and the cheese fell. The fox caught it and disappeared. Lykanos stayed silent. He had learned two things. Words can trick better than teeth, and pride can make you fall for lies. Years later, Lykanos lived alone in the forest. Quiet, cautious of humans, he played small tricks, never hurt anyone. He followed Eris's lessons. One day, young Edmund, grandson of Lord Cedric, entered the woods with his animal friends. Curious, he wanted to meet the wolf everyone talked about. Lykanos spoke gently. He said he wanted peace. He asked Edmund to leave his territory. But Edmund, full of fear and stories, didn't trust him. Edmund dug a trap and covered it with straw. Lykanos fell in. He looked up and asked, "Why? I did nothing to you." But Edmund ran to get his grandfather. Lord Cedric locked the wolf in the castle cellar. Years passed, and in that darkness, something changed. Hurt, forgotten, full of anger. Lykanos now wanted revenge on all humans. As Edmund grew up, he regretted it. He realized he had punished a peaceful soul. But it was too late. The wolf escaped, and he was no longer Lykanos. He was now the Big Bad Wolf. In the forest, he met a little girl, kind, curious. It was Little Red Riding Hood. He acted friendly, listened to her, asked questions. She told him where her grandmother lived. The wolf ran fast, reached the cottage first, and took the grandmother's place. But Edmund arrived just in time. He saved Red, caught the wolf, and once again, the wolf was locked away. To thank Red Riding Hood for her bravery, Edmund offered her a magical trip to Naples, Santorini, Istanbul, and Egypt. But deep below the castle, the wolf was digging again, and he was already on their trail. The wolf escaped once more, and just like Eris taught him, he used trickery. From Marseille, he boarded a ship, dressed as a gentleman. At this point, he has only one goal: to finally get his revenge by finding Edmund and Little Red Riding Hood. Naples, Italy. In a narrow alley, he waited for Red Riding Hood. But in Naples, the rules weren't his. The local mafia had spotted him. When he made his move, they stepped in. A wild chase broke out through tiny alleys. He barely escaped. When you travel, you must respect local rules. If not, you might become the target. Next stop, Santorini, Greece. The wolf fought a fisherman, stole his boat. His plan, lure Red onto the sea. But he didn't check the skies. A huge storm hit. Waves crashed. The boat flipped. He nearly drowned. Before facing nature, look up. The sea is strong. It plays no favorites. Then came Istanbul, Turkey. In a perfume shop, he struck again. He locked the merchant in a closet, wore his robes, waited. Red walked by. He greeted her gently. She stepped inside. Something felt strange. She looked closer. Such big ears, such big eyes, such big teeth. Too late, he grabbed her. But Edmund arrived. A fight broke out. Bottles shattered. The wolf vanished in the crowd. Even the best disguise can hide the truth from a careful heart. Finally, Egypt. Under the hot sun, in front of the pyramids, the market buzzed. The wolf fought a camel rider, took his clothes and his camel. He offered Red a free ride. She accepted, but his eyes gave him away. She ran. A wild chase began. Edmund galloped in on a white Arabian horse. The camel panicked. The wolf fell into the sand. Again, he failed. At every step, he remembered Eris. What would she do? She wouldn't fight. She'd think. He followed her path, but the pain had changed him. The wolf wasn't born bad. He became that way. Because of fear, betrayal, and being locked away. If we had let him live in peace, he might still be Lykanos. Wild animals aren't monsters. They want to live in their forests, free. When we trap them, we break them. When we chase them, we turn them into enemies. So here's what we must remember. Respect nature. Let wild animals live in peace, and they won't hurt anyone. But it's not over yet. The wolf hasn't had his final word. Subscribe to see what happens next.